Hi guys, my name is Age. You're welcome to EverAssembly. If you've been on this channel for the first time, you're welcome, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And if I've been around for a while, you must have followed my videos and a couple of videos I've done about how you can use a web framework known as Pywebio. But all this while we've been working on our local host, which is not available everywhere. And what's the essence of designing a web app that is not accessible, or you can't share it with your friends or access it over the internet? So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can deploy Pywebio using other frameworks that have already been existing. On the Pywebio documentation page, they explain how you can deploy the applications, your Pywebio applications, using frameworks like Tornado, Flask, Django, Fast API, or Starlet support. And then if you go to the Flask support, they show you how you can use the Flask.webview, or you can use Flask Whiskey app, or you can use the Flask start server. All these methods, if you read from the documentation, that are easy to follow and then implement. Now, what is Flask? According to Wikipedia, and as we all know, Flask is a micro web framework written in Python. Okay, it is called a micro framework, but you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. Why they call it a micro framework? Because it don't come with pre-existing third-party libraries, so you have to use extensions or other external support. Let's dive into a little introduction to how you can create a Flask application. But first and first, you need to run installation, which means you need to install Flask on your machine, and then you install Pywebio. Or if you are using a virtual machine, you can also run pip install Flask and Pywebio. For me, I've already installed and the requirement is already satisfied. So if you have your Flask installed and you have your Pywebio installed, let's go over the basic architecture of a Flask application. The first thing I do is I imported Flask. From Flask, I imported Flask. You can see the difference. The first one starts with small letter, the second one starts with capital letter. Then I created an instance of Flask using the script name. That is, if you run the application, look for the script name. So the Flask application will look for the script name as the app. Then the next thing we have here is the routing or the routing. Okay, so if the user enters this route in his browser, this function will have the index, and then if the user add the route / another, execute this another route function. So basically this is what we call routing in Flask application. At the bottom of it, we ask our app to run, and then we enable debug, which we can able to see errors if in case there's error. So let's run this script and see how it's going to behave. So as you can see right here in our terminal, you can see that our application is running at our local host and the port is 5000. Let's open it. Now you can see, clicking on that link we showed there, it will take us to the root, that is the slash, and then we can see that hello from EverAssembly. If we now change the root and we add / another, we can see that it has taken us to the next function, that is the next root, which is this is another root. As simple as that. How can we integrate Pywebio, which is a nice framework, with the existing framework like Flask? Because Pywebio is just new and it doesn't have much of a community compared to Flask. So you may need support and may need some extensions like that. So it will be easier deploying your application with Flask, which is already known and popular in the tech community. So to do that, I created this folder which I called Pywebio Flask, and the structure of your folder should look like this. Inside that Pywebio Flask, you have a folder called API, and then you should have your requirement.txt. That's where you are going to add all your dependencies, and then you should create a file called verset.json. We'll talk about this later in part 2 of this video. In the API, you are going to create a file which I call web app 3. I picked one of our former app we did. We created currency converter, if you remember, or check the video. The only thing we did in the app was to create a converter. You set the base currency, and then we wrote functions that convert from dollars to naira, and then convert from euros to naira, and convert from Ghanaian cedis to naira based on these stated base currencies we put here. So check the video that we demonstrated on how we did this with Pywebio. Now in this video, I added some few things. We're no longer using the start server, so we'll remove it. So we imported Flask, and then to be able to integrate our Pywebio app with Flask, we are going to be using platform.flask, and then we import the web view, which is going to render our Pywebio application using Flask. And then we created an instance of a Flask app, and then it's good for you to have your app secret key is good, and don't use this kind of cheap or simple secret key if you are going to be using your app for anything. I'm using this for tutorial. Don't use this kind of simple password or app secret key. And then we're going to leave every other thing the way it was in our currency converter. Coming down here, we are going to add what we call Flask URL rule. It's a form of routing. You are trying to tell the user that if the user goes in the browser and type the URL and end with this /, then you should execute the web view, and the application that we have developed, that is this main application up here, everything here should be rendered in this web view. And then the method can be post, it can be get. If you are conversant with HTTP request, you should know about the get request and the post request. Then instead of using a start server to run our application, we're now using the normal flask.run, and we set our debug to be true. Okay, let me recap. We imported Flask, and then we imported web view from the Pywebio Flask platform, and then we created an instance of Flask application, and then we set our application secret key, and then we set our rule, okay, to direct the user anytime he enters a URL, what view or what application it should display, which is the main application. And then we run our application. As simple as that. So let's run this and see how it will look. As you can see, our application is running, and because we set the debug to be true, it is giving us some feedback here in the terminal. You can see 200, which means it is successful. It is successful. The get request for the index function is successful. So let's hover to the browser, and you can see the application is running fine. Let's say dollars, submit. How many dollars? Let's say 24. Okay, 34. Submit. Okay, $34 is equal to 1,156 Nigerian naira. Okay, that is cool for me, though the base currency may not be accurate because we did this tutorial. The currency rate must have changed, but this is just for demonstration. So pretty easy. That's how you can integrate your Pywebio with Flask to deploy it to the cloud. Currently, we demonstrated it on our machine, and keep in mind this project structure we have here. In the part 2 of this video, we're going to see how you can deploy your app to the cloud. We have many services out there that you can deploy your app to. So we're going to use this project in the part 2 to deploy to the cloud, where it can be accessible from everywhere. Guys, if you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you do subscribe and turn the notification so that when I drop the next video, you'll be notified. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back just a minute.